What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex. In this video, I want to go over a couple Stellar Blade updates or Stellar Blade news stories. The game is going strong, guys, and I think it's honestly only a matter of time until they announce how well it did and how many X million units, this game has sold. And when they do, I'll make a video on that. I think the game deserves it. And let's start there kind of with like the praise of the game, right? One big story that's been going around the internet has been the user score on Metacritic. Now, I do want to be fair, okay? I have been, a fan of this game. I was hyping it up before the game came out. I really like it. I'm going to probably do a review on this game tomorrow. I might be going for the platinum. Like, this is a really good game. But let me just say one thing first in that I've long talked about reviews and the lack of, care, about them, specifically when it does come to Metacritic with anything, but also, the user scores on Metacritic are highly able to be manipulated, okay? So I will just say that first, that you see actually loads of games historically on Metacritic get review bombed or even actually reverse review bombed, whatever you want to call it. Plenty of games that tend to get the 0s out of 10s from just the bots or, whatever it might be. They tend to also get a whole lot of fake 10s, okay? That happens a ton. Now, I don't think that's any different with this game. You look at all of the 10s that it's getting, and actually even there's like a 1-0 I'm noticing as I'm scrolling through. These are not the most in-depth reviews, okay? And I would never go by the Metacritic user score to judge Stellar Blade, but it is newsworthy and it's noteworthy because, well, number one, this game is actually getting higher than almost any game out there. If you actually sort it by just PS5 games in general, I think this thing is in the top 10, maybe even top 5, and certainly as the story goes, what people are reporting on, in terms of 2024, it's beating out all the other games. You look at Persona, you look at Helldivers. Helldivers is actually surprisingly not low, but I think it's like an 82 or an 83. This is at a 9.3. And I guess one thing I would like to kind of throw in, how, I just mentioned about the review bombing stuff. I'm actually very surprised with the discourse that's gone on about this game and the censorship stuff. And that even kind of weirdly splitting the player base. Now you have all these people that seemingly hate the game or whatever. There's a lot of camps I think people are putting themselves in when it comes to Stellar Blade. I'm actually surprised it's not being review bombed more. Because again, I think there's a lot. I think there's over 100 3s, 2s, 1s, or 0s. So and those are fake. Okay, this game, let me tell you something. If you think that this game is a 2 out of 10, you need to reevaluate how you score games. However, I would also say the game is not perfect at all. It's not even close to being perfect. I don't think, I don't give scores, but to give the game a 10, I also think is kind of a reach. And again, that's just me. So that's just something I kind of wanted to put out there in this video. A lot of the 10s, I don't put much into it. The 0s, I put even less into it. And ultimately, the user scores, I don't put a lot into it. There's just not a lot of explanation for why a lot of these people gave it the scores that it got. But number one, I am actually kind of surprised it's not more skewed. I would imagine a game like this, the scores not reflecting the type of game that it is, right? Where maybe it gets a 60 or a 70 because of review bombing and then reverse review bombing and all that stuff. But it is stunningly high. And I think that is something to, if you're them, I think you kind of get excited over something like that, right? So that's one thing. And the other thing, while kind of skimming through, okay, again, did we get sales numbers or anything like that? They confirmed a new mode coming to the game. So they have talked about DLC before. Remember, they talked about New Game Plus before the game came out, that it sounded like New Game Plus was not going to come out day one. That was planned for weeks, if not, later after the game launched. Those wizards over there, right? They somehow got it done for day one, and I applaud that. Now they've added on to it, and I think they have talked, actually I know they've talked about more coming to the game. It's just that they weren't really sure. They do want free updates. They even want free DLC, but one thing that they have locked down is a boss rush mode, and there's very few, in fact, actually no details on what that would be, but I imagine it would just be some sort of gauntlet of the bosses, maybe one right after the other. You see how far you get. The bosses in this game, may I just say, are tremendous. It's actually one of the maybe 2 biggest highlights of the entire game. The bosses are creative, both in terms of visuals and attack styles and presentation, everything. The bosses in this game are so freaking good. And honestly, the bosses in this game get ridiculous. I don't think this game is the hardest game out there, especially compared to other like Soulsborne games. Because number one, I'm terrible at those, and actually I'm quite good at Stellar Blade. But let me tell you something, those last couple bosses, I'm on the final boss right now of the game. These final bosses are tough. And again, I applaud them. I think they're really good. Like, I'm struggling a little bit, but I'm having a ton of fun. So to combine them all into some sort of mode, and you know, like, here's another thing, you know you're gonna have costumes attached, right? Like, for everything you do in this, whatever they add on, right? If you have DLC or you have updates or you have a new mode, you gotta give an outfit for Eve for beating them. You just know that's gonna happen, right? It kind of has to. So I'm all for that. I think a game like this, to focus in on its greatest strengths, which is the combat, that's what you do, right? So to have, again, gauntlets or modes or rushes, you know, whatever you want to call them, right? Where you're kind of combining things, or like a leveling system. Maybe you have to face 20 levels of enemies, right? That, to me, is where you go with the future content in this game. You make a second game, you know, 100%. You make a sequel. But I really think to start, if you just want to expand, whether it's free or whether it's even paid, you focus on some of the combat and combat challenges, and you give that to us, you know, as free DLC or paid DLC or whatever, right? So let me know what you guys think about this in the comments. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel, bell icon turned on. I hope to see you all on the next one.